What's going on, everybody? It's your fishing buddy back with another video for y'all, and today I want to talk about my favorite rig that I have a lot of luck on catching skipjack and sometimes crappie. If you find yourself in the vicinity of crappie and you got this rig tied up, or tie this rig up, throw it out, catch you some crappie, video for that on the way. Be on the lookout for that, or just read in between the lines and get out there and catch you some crappie. I do want to apologize in advance because I'm probably gonna mess up some of these names. You'll know them when you hear them, or some of the names that you hear in other videos, people calling knots or rigs or whatever, might be different in this video. But you want to catch some skipjack or not? Yeah, let's get into it. So my go-to for skipjack is a hair jig, and specifically the marabou hair jig, the beetle boo, the marabou, the beetle bow. You see that? That's my go-to for skipjack. Probably messing the name up, but you see it. The reason I like to use hair jigs when I'm fishing for skipjack, when I'm fishing for crappie, is because I catch more fish, first of all. Second of all, once I put the rig on, I'm pretty much fishing all day with that same rig. I'm not having to adjust anything. I'm not having to put on new soft plastics because fish done tore the soft plastic off of the keeper and stuff like that. Anywho, when it comes to these marabou, beetle bow, marabou jigs, hair jigs, I'm using two colors, white, chartreuse. Sometimes a combination of both. I'm using three sizes. I'm using a 1/32, a 1/16, and I'm using a 1/8. A 1/32 being the smallest, a 1/8 being the biggest. Sometimes I might use all three sizes on one jig, or a combination of two sizes. But normally I'm gonna use at least two sizes, because I'm gonna put my lightest size at the top, put my heaviest size at the bottom. Sometimes I use all three, but I really like to use two. I like to set my rig up like a Carolina style rig with a bullet weight, a bead, and a swivel at the top, and then from that swivel down to my rig. So I really like to use two of them, and I normally leave out the 1/8 size jig head. But if you choose not to use the Carolina style rig, then that 1/8 might come in handy for you for casting distance, and if you in the current, it's gonna help it sink down a little faster. Sometimes with them lighter jigs and you in a heavy current, your bait don't even really go down in the water column none. But I'm gonna give a demonstration on both of those just here in a second. If I'm using an open face, a spin reel combo, I'm using 10-pound braid to a 12-pound mono leader. Now you can use up to like 17, 20-pound leader when it comes to fishing for these skipjack, because even though they bait fish, they don't fight like bait fish. They definitely don't fight like they want to be caught. So you got to keep that in mind. They be jumping and cutting cartwheels and all kind of stuff in the water. So they'll break your line. Sometimes you might catch more than one at one time. So you got to keep that in mind too. You don't want to be losing fish and breaking off. So either set your drag or use heavier test line. Salute. When I'm fishing it with the Carolina style rig, I'll use a bait caster. And on that bait caster, normally I got 17-pound test line on that bait caster, so I'm cool there. Now when it comes to setting up the rig itself, I'm using all loop knots to connect the jig to the leader. Drop loop knots at the top and a regular loop knot down at the bottom. The loop knot is gonna allow the jig to have the right motion in the water. It's gonna allow it to pendulum. Yeah, pendulum. It's gonna allow it to do that in the water instead of just being tight to that knot and not having a nice little, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is give a demonstration of a loop knot and a drop loop knot, the easiest way to do it before we tie it on the actual line, because that actual line might be a little harder to see. We're gonna use this twine line. Let's do that. All right, so just for demonstrational purposes, we're just gonna use a couple things that I got laying around right here. We're gonna use a key and a thumb stick. A thumb drive. 2.5, 3 feet. Cut you off something like that. You ain't gonna use the whole thing. You're not gonna have a 3-foot rig, but just leave yourself something to play with. All right. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tie the loop knot. Okay. We're gonna tie the loop knot. So put your string in your in the eye of your hook. Okay. Once you got that string in the eye of your hook, pull it and double it like so. Leave you a little room to play with. So you're gonna make a loop, right? Put your jig through that loop 3 or 4 times. Just keep running it through that loop 3 or 4 times. 3 times, because this is twine line. So now that you got that, you just want to tighten this knot up as close as you can to that jig head. And that's going to allow it to move freely. Now that's your loop knot. But it's the same thing as a drop loop knot. We'll cut that pretty close. Cut it pretty close. But it's the same thing as a drop loop knot. On a drop loop knot, we're going to run that through the eye of the hook. And at the top, you only need to leave about 9 inches. You need to leave less than a foot between this bottom jig and this top jig. And now you're going to do the same thing. Double that line. Make a loop. 1, 2, and 3. But this time, you don't want it to be as close to the jig head as possible. But you just want to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. That way, with this being the heaviest jig head, it's going to fall faster. And it's not going to get tangled up with this one. When you cast it out, it's going to cast smoothly. And when it falls in the water and you're retrieving it, this one here will kind of fall under this one. And this one will be up in the water. And when you give it some action, when you pull it, it's going to look like this one is chasing after this one. And skipjack don't like that. I don't know if skipjack are like a super happy and hyper fish or just an angry, mad fish. But either way, they don't like that. So when they see this in the water, they're going to go after one of the two. They're either going to go after the big fish that's hunting the small fish, or they're going to try to get the small fish before the big fish gets it. So with that being said, let's get into the actual jig. The actual rig. So same thing, 2.5, 3 feet of line, snip it. Let's say we're going to set it up without the Carolina rig. So we're going to take a 1/16 at the top, leave us some room to play with. We don't want it all the way up at the top, because if you do decide to tie this to a swivel, you don't want this right up under your swivel. You can always cut this shorter later. Pull it. Okay. Make you a loop. Run it through that loop 4 times. Ooh, I hooked myself 2 times. Man, these things sharp. That's good though. Take it on that loop head. On the eye of that loop, you see that? The eye of that loop, hook it to that loop. The eye of that jig. Hook it to that loop and pull it down. Now you see how when you pull it, it gets closer and closer to that jig head? Now take it loose. And boom, tighten it up. That's your 1.5 inches right there. But now you got room to connect it to that swivel right here. Come down to the bottom. And the reason you don't want them to be all close together is because when this gets wet and it falls down, you don't want them right up against each other like that. You want to have a little bit of space. So come down about 1 foot or close to 1 foot and start tying that next one. Double that up. Make your loop 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this one, you can make it a lot closer to the jig head. So you see how that's free from the loop? Stick the eye of that on that loop and pull it down. Pull it down to just where you can unhook it. You see how that is? Now unhook it from there and boom. That's all you need. Just a little bit of space so that jig can move in the water. And the rest of this you can cut off. And that's your rig right there. That's it. Now you can put as many of these as your state allow you to put on there. You can do this. That's a 1/32. This is a 1/8. You can put this 1/32 at the top and put a 1/16 right here and then a 1/8 at the bottom. Just like that. So let's say that you wanted to fish it on a Carolina rig. Well, in that case, all you would have to do is go to your main line, put a bullet head on there, and you're gonna have to determine what size bullet weight you need. But I like 1/4 ounce, especially when the current is moving. That's gonna give me good casting distance, and that's gonna help me get down in the water column pretty easily. I like the plastic beads. Put your bead on there, take you a swivel. Sometimes I'll be thinking I need to put a hook on my swivel, but I think that'll cause problems. The reason is like when I use a gold swivel and I'm working it in the water and this bead is clacking, I've seen Skipjack go after my swivel and my bead. So I be thinking like, man, I should start putting a hook on my swivel. I'm gonna try that, but I'm gonna do a Palomar knot on this one. I got Palomar knots in other videos. There you go, Spidey. You're welcome. But remember, if you're gonna use this Carolina style rig, you want this weight down at the bottom to be a 1/16 at the most. Here's a knot right here that I don't know the name of, but run your tag in through the swivel, okay? Bring it up, pinch it. Take that tag in and run it under the pinch 5 times. Run it around under that pinch 5 times. Now, that loop you made at the top that you were holding, that you were pinching, put it back through there, moisten it, cinch it down. And that ain't going nowhere. You got your Carolina style set up right there. Just like that. One thing you can do, because Skipjack, you get a lot of short strikes, put a trailer hook on there. And right here, I just got a little pinched off piece of soft plastic that I just put on the hook for a keeper. And I put a size 4, get you like a size 4 or size 6 hook, or even like an 8 if you can fit it over that bar right there. And just put that on there. That way if the Skipjack hits the skirt, boom, you got him. Either or, he hit the top, you got him. Give y'all a demonstration of that knot with this twine line. What you're gonna do is take your tag in, put it through the eye of that hook, pinch it about halfway. You got your tag in up here, come down, wrap this tag in around that line 5 times. However many that was, that's what we'll do for these demonstrational purposes. Then take this tag in and put it back through that loop that you made. Moisten it and cinch it down. Cut your tag in off. And I don't know the name of this knot, but if you know the name of this knot, put it in the comments for us. Let us know, help us out. And that should be about all you need to know for this setup. I'm gonna tag another video in this video right here, and it's gonna show me catching Skipjack. So you'll be able to watch my retrieve, the different retrieves that I use to get these Skipjacks to bite. Just like any other fish, they want it different ways, different days. Some days fast, sometimes slow, some days at the top, some days at the bottom. So watch that other video that I tagged in this video. That way you can check out my different retrieves. When you go to set the hook on these Skipjack, when you feel them hit, set the hook. Don't wait too long to set the hook like you're fishing for a bass, a fish that inhales the bait. Like in the bass, you know, you got to give it a few seconds to inhale the whole bait and set the hook. These Skipjack, like I said, I can't tell if they're just energetic and hyper or if they're just an angry fish. But either way, they're real fast about it. And sometimes you'll see them flash in the water. They flash, they're fast, they're real fast fish. So watch that other video I tagged in this one. That way you can see me miss some Skipjack and you can see me catch a whole lot of Skipjack. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope that I was able to break this down to you, break down this rig to you, and give you the confidence to get out there and go catch you some Skipjack. Or if you don't have Skipjack and you want to use this rig right here to get out there and catch some crappie, it's perfect for that too. Good luck out there on the lake. Let me know how you feel about this video. If you like this video, subscribe so you get the drops when the drops drop. So until next time, I'm out of here. I love y'all. Good luck out there on the lake.